Good afternoon, everyone. Here to start the Seneca County IDA meeting. It's 12 o'clock and it looks like we have a quorum. So Kelly, if you could go through a roll call.
Miss Bassett?
Yes.
Mr. Brusso?
Yes.
Mr. Case? Mr. Kime?
Yes.
Mrs. Policelli?
Yes.
Mr. Shipley? Mr. Trout?
Yes.
Mr. Wadhams?
Yes.
Mr. Shipley is absent as of right now.
Okay. First item on the agenda for today is approval of the IDA minutes from our last meeting, August 6th. Unless anyone has any questions or comments, could I have a motion to approve?
Valerie moves.
I'll second.
Okay, I guess, yeah, roll call, Kelly?
Miss Bassett?
Yes.
Mr. Brusso?
Yes.
Mr. Case? He can just nod. He has no
Give
sound.
thumbs up, maybe?
Mr. Kime?
Yes, although I wasn't in attendance at that meeting.
Mrs. Policelli?
Yes.
Mr. Shipley? Mr. Trout?
Yes.
Mr. Wadhams?
Yes.
Mr. Shipley absent, motion carried.
Okay. Next item is the financial statements for July. Erica, if you could review those for us.
Sure. I'll just go over the key changes for July. Let's see, if you take a look at the balance sheet, the total checking and savings is up $5,233 due to net income for the month. Long-term notes receivable is down $13,175 due to payments made in July. Total other liabilities decreased $30,103 due to the sector payment being moved to income, and the net income of $17,454 for the month. We're at a surplus of $40,000 year to date. And then if you flip to your income statement, income, $52,000 of income for the month of July, which was Scepter and the Finger Lakes Ergonomics. Expenses through July are down $27,000 from the prior year, approximately $295,000 in expenses for the year to date. The three largest expenses for the period are per usual, which are payroll of $76,000, professional of $98,000, and benefits of $41,000. Other income, $152,000. Of that, Seneca County was $54,000, and the sale of the property was $85,000. Other expenses, there was $20,000 in site development costs.
And Erica, you may want to mention that's due to hillside situation.
That's true.
There. Does anyone have any questions or comments on the financials for Erica?
Just FYI, I was on, I know you did the minutes, and I'm all in favor of those minutes if you did that. Sorry,
That's
difficulty.
Okay.
So could I have a motion to approve the financials?
Motion to approve the financials, Menzo?
Second?
I'll second. This is Don.
Okay, Kelly?
Miss Bassett?
Yes.
Mr. Brusso?
Yes.
Mr. Case,
Yes.
Mr. Keim,
Yes.
Mrs. Policelli,
Yes.
Mr. Trout,
Yes.
Mr. Wadums,
Yes.
Mr. Shipley,
Yes.
motion carried.
Next item on the agenda is the discussion of the lease agreement with Deer Haven Park. Sarah, if you could start us off on that and sort of explain what that is and why we're looking to do that.
Yeah, so Earl Martin reached out to us shortly after the resolution was approved at the last meeting to transfer the Hillside property to him. So he's looking to, prior to closing on the sale, he's looking to lease the Hillside campus from us so that he can hire some workers and have them do some welding and some other things for his dairy system business. And in return, he has agreed to pay the purchase price upfront as rent and to pay for all utilities and maintenance on the property. And then he would have the option to purchase for $1 upon closing. And Rob Halpin on the phone to answer any questions that you all may have, specifically with regards to the actual drafting of the agreements.
So I guess I'll start out, Rob. I just have a couple questions to start. The actual length of the lease, is this something that is essentially a bridge type lease to go cover the period between now and when he would normally close, or is this able to be extended past what we might consider the normal close date?
Right. So the idea is it's anticipated that he's going to be applying for pilot assistance so that he can keep the IDA in title long enough to work out the assessment. So the base lease term would be 90 days, which would give him the opportunity to, if he changes his mind on that, simply lease it and then close on the property. If it does go through with the application for the pilot and that gets approved, then the IDA has the ability to transition that into a 2-year term, which is what I understand he's going to be requesting, which would then go into effect once the IDA approves the assistance package, and then you'd have a 2-year term, or he'd have a 2-year term to do what he's got to do, and at the end of that, pursuant to the terms of the lease, title would automatically transfer to him at the end.
And what, during that 2-year term, then that pilot would be in effect, so he'd be paying the normal pilot. So essentially it'd be as if he owned the property in terms of taxes, with a pilot.
Well, the terms of the pilot payment would have to be negotiated, I guess. The taxes, if he paid them, would be, outrageous, frankly, which is why he'd be, the assessment's being challenged now, and he'd be working to get that reduced. Presumably, there'd be some sort of, structured pilot payment while the pilot was in effect for that 2-year period.
So just to jump in quickly here with some more clarification, a potential pilot, Earl is working on an app right now for that, so we can get that processing. But essentially what we've sort of preliminarily discussed with him is that we would be looking to set the assessment through the pilot at $350,000, which is what the appraisal firm valued the property at. And Mr. Martin's agreed, that would be, that he would, happily pay taxes on a property valued at that. So we would be looking ideally to do a pilot for 1 year, at which point if the assessor has not adjusted the assessment, we would have the option to extend the pilot further to give Mr. Martin more time to work those details out with the assessor.
For those who are involved, that's consistent with what we did with the depot. Basically the same thing, as you get a 1-year term and then an option to extend for another year if he wasn't able to get the spot that he wanted within the first year, and he ended up not exercising the option to take the second year of that lease term.
So essentially, I guess the other question I have is, even though it seems extremely unlikely, because Earl is, looks like he's, more than ready to start. That's why he's looking to get the lease, to start moving in equipment and start working on the property. If for some reason at the end of the lease, before we close, it's still possible for him to back out of the lease or back out of the purchase?
It is possible. The worst case scenario under that situation would be, the IDA has the $65,000 that he's paid, and then would have to look for either renegotiating with him or looking for potentially another buyer.
That's what would be the same whether we had the lease or not?
Well, the idea behind the lease is to give him the opportunity between now and closing to get in there and do what he needs to do. But check the downside of the IDA. We've asked, and I understand that he's agreed to pay the purchase price up front, so that if in the likely event something happens and he decides to go another way, the IDA has at least recouped what it would otherwise have by simply selling into the property.
Anyone else have any questions for Rob? If not, or any other discussion on this before we go for approval?
This is Valerie, just a comment. I think we're very fortunate that Earl has stepped up to purchase the property, and even before that, to take a lease and help. This really helps the IDA financially as far as the ongoing nonstop expenses that go with hillside property. We're fortunate, I think, that Mr. Martin has stepped up to lease and to purchase.
So we've got the insurance coverage and all that in place.
Yeah, that's of course going to lease. He'll have to provide insurance, and there's all the usual indemnification and hold harmless obligations on his part.
And there's no issue with the lack of septic services, and right? They shut that off, right?
Yeah, so an update on that. The county is still looking to commission that wastewater treatment plant. They are not do so at this point because First Light is still a user on that system. They're the owner currently, and they've, been looking at their options. So the DEC will not allow the county to decommission that until First Light has another viable option. Mr. Martin is aware of all this, and actually he's in favor of the decommissioning of the plant. He's looking into some options privately that he would finance himself to take care of that. And he's actually been in touch now with First Light, and they're looking to potentially work together on a solution. So that he's aware of that, and it doesn't seem to be an issue for him moving forward.
So any additional questions or comments? If not, I guess, can I have a motion to approve the lease?
Motion, this is Don.
I'll second this,
Second.
Steve. Or Valerie.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. So Kelly?
Mrs. Bassett,
Yes.
Mr. Russo,
Yes.
Mr. Case,
Yes.
Mr. Keim,
Yes.
Mrs. Policelli,
Yes.
Mr. Shipley,
Yes.
Mr. Trout,
Yes.
Mr. Wadums,
Yes.
motion carried.
So moving right along, we have, next item is the standing update from Jeff Shipley on chamber activities.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Steve. I have 3 updates to share with the group today on the chamber side. One is for the last 4 months, we have convened a group known as One Seneca that gets together on a weekly basis and provides feedback, advice on the county's reopening efforts from COVID-19. We've disseminated information, created tools and resources, and just overall provided general guidance from the business community for our county leaders and officials to open our community back up. I think it's been a very well-received initiative. We've had great participation. We've had a lot of representation from all segments of the community. And Sarah and the IDA director has been on this group as well. So we appreciate all of the efforts. Second, I'd like to mention is the establishment of a promotional campaign called Seneca Safe. And it is meant to promote our community as an attractive destination for visiting and obviously to encourage visitation at our businesses, local businesses. So we will be rolling out a pretty extensive multimedia digital campaign over the next couple of weeks. It's basically meant to show people that this is a safe place to do business and come and experience. We have taken a lot of safety measures based on what all of the recommendations are. And, just general statistics are showing that visitors particularly are wanting to come. They're making decisions by how they feel safe. So we want to show them that we are a safe community. And so that's going to be rolling out over the next couple of weeks. And finally, our 2020 Seneca County Visitor Guide is being printed today and yesterday, and will be in hand by the end of next week. It's a huge effort and big undertaking this year. We had some delays with the state and obviously with COVID-related issues, but it's meant to showcase our community as the birthplace of the women's rights movement. Obviously, for 2020 is the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment. And so we have featured 9 modern-day women from our community. And we have also profiled 9 historical women from the women's rights movement era. And to tell our story, to tell the story of tourism and all, and the way we profiled the 9 women of today was we've taken a woman from each industry segment, if you will, that tourist or visitor will experience. So really excited to showcase this piece when it comes in. We have already had more requests than we have ever had on a particular publication in the 10 years that I've been here. So I believe that it's going to be a very effective marketing tool for both our visitors and certainly will inspire a lot of, I think, goodwill for our local community. So that's the update from the Chamber of Commerce.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. And then next one is our standing update on the Board of Supervisors, the county activities. So Don?
Yeah, at our last meeting, we passed a letter of support to reopen Del Lago, encouraging the governor to do so. I see the day after that they had a big rally out there, so hopefully he takes it into consideration and gives some guidance and allows that to reopen sometime very soon in the near future.
Hey, Don.
Don,
yeah,
we actually announced today they're allowed to reopen.
September 9th, Don. September 9th, they are allowed to reopen now.
Well, obviously that did not fall on deaf ears then. So, the next thing was the IDA line. I have been told by Tire and Junius and the county attorney we're closer than ever to actually closing that deal. So hopefully next month we can actually finalize it. Not sure what the real big holdup is now. We have the numbers from Hunt Engineers as to what it takes to make the line suitable for Seneca Falls. Everybody seems to be in agreement. So hopefully the next 30 days we'll be wrapping that up. And then the last thing is the mask policy. Seneca County voted on a 3-step mask policy, mainly to educate, but still at the end of it, they did institute a fine schedule. The individual could be fined anywhere from $250 to $1,000 for entering a business without a mask, and the business owner could face anywhere from $500 to $2,000. They did try to institute the point that they do not want to fine a business. The question was brought up, why even have the fines then? But they felt like the fines needed to have some bite to them. I am the only supervisor that voted no on that, so I'm probably not the best one to speak about it. But having said that, I know some of the other surrounding counties, the maximum fine is only $50. So Seneca County is taking their mask policy very seriously, and I don't have a whole lot more to say about it. And that's the update from the county.
Steve, I just want to mention that the transition on the sewer line will have a dramatic impact on our balance sheet to the tune of about $900,000. So our fixed assets will be reduced as well as our equity position because of that transfer.
This is Tom, and I guess maybe everybody knows it, but while you're on the topic, how are we handling the cost here of these repairs that people are wanting to see done? There's been discussions and points on it, but I guess I'm not sure what we're doing and how we're ensuring that how it's getting paid and how we're ensuring that the IDA is paid back.
So we're still working out the details. As Don mentioned, we are closer than ever. What I've proposed to the county manager and to the supervisor of Seneca Falls is that the IDA could explore, essentially funding the renovations. The county would have to take care of finding, a suitable party to do the construction, but we would fund the renovations and we would be repaid from a portion of the user fees on the line. So what we're in the process of doing right now is figuring out what a reasonable fee structure would be so that there's nothing, business unfriendly about this. But it would be structured so that the IDA would expect to receive a set payment each month until such a time as it's paid off. And so that's what we're negotiating right now. Once we have details ironed, we will, proper legal agreements drafted to reflect all of that.
Okay, so we'll see a draft of that agreement?
Yes.
Okay. My only question.
Steve, you're muted.
Boy, and I wasted all that good talking too. So anyways, for other business, there's only one item I have, the IDA priorities. I'll probably put Sarah on the spot a little bit here. But as you know, Sarah, Pat, and Kelly have been working on IDA priorities for this year and next year with an initial memo sent out to the board about 2 weeks ago. Overall, looking at the priorities, they fit into a few broad themes. One being sort of IDA operational improvements, including work process and policies. The second one on communication and collaboration. So between staff and the board, within the board, between the IDA and the Board of Supervisors, the chamber, public, business community, and other governmental entities. Also, another theme is, implementing the economic development strategy and completing ongoing projects. So, I'm going to turn this over to Sarah if she wants to say something, and if anyone else has any questions or comments. I know sometime in the near future, as this is being worked on more, Sarah is going to be providing updates and regular updates on this, but at this point, it's still fairly preliminary. So, Sarah?
Sure. So I won't really add too much to what Steve said other than, let's see, it was last week now on Tuesday, Jeff and myself followed the brief presentation to the Board of Supervisors at their meeting. We talked about the strategic plan and our, efforts to move forward with that. The three of us have been meeting weekly for, I think, just over a month now, really going through line by line each of the goals and initiatives that was outlined and trying to determine what is, still relevant right now, what things maybe need to drop down the priority list because of, the impact of the pandemic, and really, trying to figure out what's the best move forward, how do we get some real immediate traction and success. So, some of the big things that identified, which are already happening, Jeff mentioned the visitor guide. One of the things that was laid out was, the chamber continuing to look at ways of promoting tourism in our area. We've been continuing to do our business retention efforts and are actually able to start getting back in to visit some businesses in person. It's been very positive so far. And then like Steve mentioned, on process improvement things, which for us are also going to be tied into the strategic plan, and that we're looking to, adopt a new CRM system, which will allow us to hopefully have not only better sort of record keeping and tracking, but also ultimately better customer service. Because one of the other major pillars that we identified was obviously the business friendliness of our community as a whole. So that's kind of a brief update on where we are, but I'm happy to answer any questions that people might have specific to the list of priorities that was out.
Can you go into more detail of the CRM, Sarah? What it actually does for you? Is tracking our transactions with the IDA deals, or what does it do for you?
So the CRM is sort of twofold in that we would use it to track our business retention. So our visits, our contact with people, what their needs are, and that really is meant to help us keep an idea of potential projects that would be in a pipeline before they actually come to happen. And, secondly, it's about tracking the actual deals themselves. So having a better centralized location for all of the specifics of certain pilot agreements, the length, the terms, makes it easier for us to do reporting. It makes it easier for us to standardize our pilot structures. Also, when we're going out and visiting businesses, we'll be able to tell which projects came as a lead as a result of a business retention visit versus were inbound and they kind of came to us from a referral or some other source. So it'll give us a lot better data on what we're doing that's working and what we need to do better, essentially.
So can you give me some idea what you have for a basis right now for a customer base now? What's out there as far as potential projects, landowners that want to develop, or describe to me what you I know what a customer is in our business. What is a customer? What's a description of a customer in the IDA's eyes?
So in the IDA's case, obviously, anybody that we've already had some sort of tax agreement or loan with would be a customer. Anybody that falls into sort of our niche of industrial businesses or tourism businesses or agricultural producer businesses, the system, we can look at expanding obviously beyond that to other types of customers, more retail side, although likely we will not need to do that, but we could still track information. So if we started to receive inquiries from people that are outside of sort of our scope of work, we could track inquiries and then referrals that we make to other organizations, say, if we referred somebody to the chamber for assistance. It's really all encompassing, but primarily you would see, like the Waterloo Containers or the Bonadents or Pine Tree Farms, people that we've had a history of doing business with.
As you dug through files and stuff and you dove in there, what's the numbers? I mean, what are old files and so on that you dug through between you and Kelly? What kind of base of customers did you kind of base this whole purchase and this project of buying a CRM on? What was the numbers that you based it on? I mean, when we go out and buy a software project, we go out, obviously, and we get the customers first. And they say, okay, we've outgrown our current system. We got to go out and get something bigger, or better, that serves our purposes better. So I'm trying to understand your process that you went through, and to justify your cost. Obviously, there's a cost to this thing, and you don't want to deplete your funds without having a base to justify it. So that's what I'm driving at here.
So I'm sure most of you have seen our office. If you look through here, it's extremely difficult to pull files for anything specific and to track kind of all the projects we've done and all the people that we've contacted over the past few years. So for us, it's just primarily it's a way for us to better keep track of that and provide better service. And it will allow us to generate efficiencies so that we can continue to expand to more companies, provide better service to them. So there really isn't an initial target number. It's really about, we have to go through and pull all of our historical data and put it in. We would have initially probably well over 100 companies that would go in to the database for us to keep track in some way. We'd be looking to grow that, obviously.
And a lot of the stuff that's in the files that you're not even sure what's there, you plan on plowing through some of them and resurrecting some of the dead and putting them into the system, or sorting out what's good and what's bad and maybe putting some in, or what's the game plan there?
Essentially, the game plan is, if we have ever done any kind of tax incentive or funding for any company, by default, they need to go in the system with that historical data loaded in of what the nature of the deal and what the agreement was at the time. And then going forward, anybody that we had a project with will go in the system. Going forward, anybody that we had a video phone call with or an email to would go in the system. But initially, the backlog would have to start with anybody that has had some kind of project with us.
Okay. Let's think you've answered my questions, my initial questions here anyways, I guess. It's just a question of justification, I guess, mainly, it's just, without knowing the basis, that's what I was curious about, I guess, so.
Yeah.
What's this gonna cost us annually then? What's the final number? I remember reading it, and I'm on the road, I apologize, I remember reading it and I'm digging for it right now. What's the annual cost, total annual cost? I know there's a monthly cost and an annual cost.
So the annual cost is about $1,600.
$1,600 annual. After
Yes.
the initial setup?
Yes. So the initial setup is for the first year, and then every year succeeding would be the annual cost of $1,600.
Okay.
Yeah, and so, obviously we're a small staff, as you all know, with Kelly and being the only two full-time and Pat being part-time. So what we're hoping is that this system will help all of us find more time in our day to serve more people. Who spend less time digging through, ancient records and millions of binders and things that are misfiled or missing.
That's all cost. I get it. We go through that mess in our office too, trying to find things, and you end up chasing things around, and activity is cost. I understand, so yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you for all that.
You're welcome. Bob, you're on mute.
So yeah, Bob, are you trying to get on?
Yes, I'm fine. Thank you. Pat Jones brings a lot of institutional knowledge to the organization. At some point, Pat will be enjoying her full retirement. And these are the kind of things that, what's in somebody's head is good, but if they're gone, then what good is it? So having a database where we can consolidate pertinent information will be a significant improvement to our operation.
Yeah, and I'll just point out too that the system we ended up, selecting significantly cheaper than its competitors as far as systems that would accommodate needs. We need other more typical sales, but that obviously is even more expensive and doesn't give us all the functionality that we're looking for without a major price tag. And the system we chose will allow us to have an unlimited number of users, meaning that we can put in, our business retention consultant and have him inputting his notes in there to allow better communication within our team. And ultimately, too, we look at giving sort of limited access to certain community partners if we decide that we want it. It would allow us to provide referrals to agencies directly through our system if we ultimately decide to go that route, which in the immediate term we would not, but it's certainly something we would explore in the future.
Yeah. Sarah, this is Tom. I don't think it's a bad idea to do this. The only thing I would caution you on, and obviously we don't want to spend any more than we need to, but the one system that you're looking at is 2 versions of security behind. SAS 70 isn't even certified anymore. They've gone through 16 and now SSA 18. And I looked up the system and how they use it and their configurations, and there's some concerns with that and what they've got. And I don't go through all that here, and I can send you some stuff on it. But I would just encourage you, if you're going to go through all the work of getting into a system, that we don't go to a system that doesn't have the right security platform and is outdated. So I may want to look at that a little bit more. So.
Understood. Thank you for that point, Tom.
So anyone have any other questions or comments? If not, there's no need for an executive session. So we'll get to the best part of the meeting. So if there's nothing else, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Any second?
Second.
Well, just, yeah, do the roll call for,
Ms. Bassett,
Yes.
Mr. Brusso,
yes.
Mr. Case,
Yes.
Mr. Keim,
Yes.
Mrs. Bolicelli,
Yes.
Mr. Shipley,
Yes.
Mr. Trout,
Yes.
Mr. Wadums,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone, and I guess we'll see you next month.